Well, hello there. It's good to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, yes, super excited to be here again, and London was fun.
London was fun. Yeah, London XCH was probably one of the best community events I've been to. It was fantastic. So, would you mind giving me a little bit of background? I know you and I know each other, but for those of us who are listening, it's always good to kind of put a face to the actions in the community.
Absolutely. Well, what can I say? I go by Futureadora on Twitter and on the blockchain. My name is Izadora. I've been part of the Chia community. Feels like a long time, but I think it's not that long. About, let's say, it'll be August that I minted my first project. So yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Um, I got into Web3. I had a first project. My first project was utilizing blockchain and authenticating high value items, digital twins. And that was an event out in Beverly Hills. It was an auction event with sports memorabilia, luxury goods, jewelry, and liquor. Then that was a success, which took me to get an agent out of New York called MA Group. Worked on a few projects on ETH. So that was a big, interesting learnings for me about Web3, and that also was a few successful projects, which landed me another agent in New York as well called Hideoki that specifically works with Japanese brands. So quite a journey. And then being part of the community, of course, being a poet. I ran into a few good men, I would say, out of chefs community who have launched a very successful project called Chunks. And those creators really introduced me to Chia, onboarded me, supported me. My first project, Birth of Futureadora, that was in August. So just been really lovely community in Chia, really, to have the best journey in Web3, I would say, for me, for myself.
That's awesome. So, a little bit of ETH in there. We might have to dig into that later.
No comment, but yes, for work purposes.
Yeah.
But I think for myself, it was really important being a poet and, speaking about many things that are personal and also important things that I observed. For me, it was very important to do the homework on which blockchain, fit for me, and telling that story, and also learning about decentralization and why it exists and why was it created. It was important for me to make sure that my values aligned with that blockchain. Hence, Chia is the place to be, and I'm very happy to continuously launch my projects, work with other creators, all the devs that I've met that have helped me tremendously. It's the list is very long.
That's awesome. So can you tell me a bit about what you're working on currently? What's going down?
Yes. Let's see. So Ghost Poesia is one of my projects where I host collaborations between different creators rooted in poetics and to have a creative output. So we're at 2.0 now. 0.1 was really what inspired me are the devs. I learned the command line to mint my project and really had admiration for the work that all the devs do and the command line, and all that really inspired me to create my first home backslash CLI. I would say is very infamous. and and yeah, I think that was that's the whole overview for me for Ghost Poets, is really just being a host, a poet, and just having different artists and different also people with different skill sets to come and give their own twist on a poem of mine.
Yeah. So the project itself combines some elements of more traditional art, poetry, and then kind of the digital side of things. What was kind of the inspiration there? What brought those two things together, and how do you feel that impacts the viewers and the audience?
Oh, I think so. For 2.0, it stems from a poem called Wild Woman, which is performed by Izadora. So I go by Izadora in the real world as a poet. And that was it really, that whole project, that poem itself is one of, I would say, my most famous poems out there. And it really was important for me to bridge the gap between Izadora and Futuradora. So using elements of digital garment. I've worked in the fashion industry I used to, for 15, 20 years. I hope nobody does the math on my age. And then combining the analog, so it was important for me that this project had 50% analog, 50% digital. So those components really come together in a digital garment, and then using the poetry as a textile. So weaving those two components together. The live performance, it breaks down into a film component, a performance of Wild Woman at the opening of Met Ams, a digital festival that combines tech and creativity. So really that intersection where I'm at as well as a poet and as a creative, and leveraging, digital and analog and being in between that merge.
Yeah. So what are some of your goals for this project at the Met this year?
I think for myself, and I'm super grateful to say for everyone else that's involved, to raise awareness, in the society at large, leveraging technology in both digital and physical realm. I think now with everything that's going on in the world, it's so important to be able to see those key factors which can bring the message longer, can really be implemented in different areas and bring into different markets. So I'm, using fashion, using film, and using all these different components, I think really catapults the message and the importance of what this project is about. Also in igniting that change, that's important through currency of poetry, and inspiring humanity as a whole to reflect on identity, inclusion, and decentralization, and the importance of it, and really landing on invoking a conversation that will spark a change in the world poetically.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So the message sounds like it's primarily, equality, identity, empowerment. Those are really the central themes that make this up.
Absolutely. And then woman empowerment, or people that identify with being a woman, and not necessarily also physically, but just having, a more feminine energy as well, right? Like men also have that kind of sensitive energy. So all those things.
So what are your long-term hopes? If this goes, to vision, what does that look like for you?
It's really to spark that change, to be honest, is for people to really, look at technology and how this tool can change what you're currently doing, whatever that may be. And I really believe in slow tech. So not really having technology run our world, but using that as an advantage to really evolve ourselves as better people, and have better interaction, positive interaction. And I hope people see that and feel that from the different aspects of the avant-garde project that it is at Met Ams.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So switching gears for a minute, kind of digging into what is your creative process?
I think for me, it always comes from being inspired. As a poet, some work I do, it's for work, or people ask me to write about a certain topic. But for me, it really starts with the inspiration. And for me, my poems are inspired by my life, the people that I meet, definitely hardships we all go through that we all can relate to. Though that's where it starts. That's where the seed is. And the watering of the seed is having that framework of what the message is, what the goal is, what I'm trying to say, and what I take into consideration is how will the audience receive it, and how important that is. And that conversation, even though their audience, they're listening, but there's a two-way conversation. I wouldn't be talking if I didn't also want to listen. So those are the things that, I get into the process. But specifically for the project, really having, how do I make poetry and fashion and what I've gone through merge and take the good things and the positive things and have a creative opportunity, and also give the different creators that are involved an opportunity to listen to the poem and take it into their process and create something beautiful out of it.
That's awesome. So collaborators on this project, you've got a couple of them. How did they get involved? Who's involved?
I think it's easier to say who's not involved, but there are so many. I even wrote down so I do not miss anyone. Let's see. For the performance bit, we have Matthias, who's also an AI GAN artist, not on Chia, but I'm onboarding him currently. He's doing the digital garment and also taking the film that we just shot at Terschelling, this beautiful island here in Holland. And he's doing a reiteration or interpretation of the film utilizing AI. Then we have Timon, who is the lighting guy, the lighting genius, who does all these beautiful mappings. So he's taking the Morse code textile component and taking the animation that Matthias created to bring that into the beautiful space Gashouder that we're taking over for the opening. Then we have Ming, who's the filmmaker, licensed drone, just creative genius in capturing moments. We shot the film 2 weeks ago, and then we have Paul and Christian doing the sound, acoustic with guitar and Kimbella. So that's coming out really beautifully. Then the photo booth, Cass, who is part of the Chia community, engineer, dad, extraordinary human being. He, as you know, we saw the prototype of the photo booth. So we're bringing that into, fruition, which I'm just so grateful to really bring his creativity, and honored that he's happy to, make this make sense. Then, of course, that photo booth is supported by Evergreen, the app. Seth as well is doing a POAP, so hopefully we'll have that ready. And as well, of course, Chia, the technology, which will be minting, doing the IRL mint at the event. My friend Carrie, who's a director out of New York, that's helping with the storytelling. And then the NFT drop, which we're doing with Dudette, the infamous Dudette. She's so amazing artist, who onboarded on Chia not too long ago, but just super successful and just super grateful to have her say yes. Then Cass is also dropping an NFT art as well. The photo booth is called Space and Time. So yeah, those are the bunch, the Brady Bunch, the gang, the army, the soldiers. Then we are still looking at dancers. So yeah, more to come still.
Goodness, collaboration must be a logistical feat.
Yes. Sometimes I feel like an octopus, doing all these things, project managing and speaking to the different creators and different part of the project. So it's a different communication, different language, learning also the terminologies of all these specs and texts and in the learning curve.
Things combining into one giant thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So if someone wanted to get involved with this, what would be the best channel to reach out?
With Ghost Puts, slide in my DM. Slide in the DM with an idea, with a thought. I'm very approachable, I would say. I think Jean would also say I'm very approachable. Yeah.
Awesome.
Anytime in your place, I would say.
Well, those are most of my questions. I'd love to hear, are there things coming up? What's in the future? Is this really the what you're running with moving forward? What does it look like landscape wise?
For me, so I think the most exciting part for me, or more personal part of the project, is the garment, the digital garment, since it kind of brings my 20 years IRL job into what I really love right now is, you know, the Web3 and making poetry a form of currency. So with that aspect of the project, my hope is to get into gaming. That's the goal, that's the ambition. And creating a game around poetry and using digital garment, yeah, to create skins. I don't know. The dream is big. The ambition is there.
And you feel like the industry is at a place right now that's kind of ready for it, or do you feel like there's a lot more work that needs to happen to kind of bring that to fruition?
It's possible. I'm not sure if people are ready for that. As you know, gaming is such a huge industry and it's thriving, and we know what works, what doesn't work. So I think to bring in another idea or another market into it is a difficult push in a larger scale. So maybe, you know, something more niche, smaller, I think could gain traction. I think poetry right now is booming. You know, people are needing to hear, you know, a message. And I think poets have a huge responsibility in doing that and conveying a message that might be digestible
Yeah.
for
And
people.
is a component of that then raising up the next generation of poets, the next generation of voices, and how do you see that?
Well, I usually, you know, for me, being a mom as well of two, that's super, super important for me to consider also in the work that I do. So with local creative communities, I've given workshops on, you know, decentralization of poetry and how that those two worlds can meet, onboarding people on Chia, both at a larger, you know, exhibition or even just on a talk, you know, with a stranger. Um, and and now my thought is to bring that into a school format. They do programming class for age 6 already. So I think I want to try to really kind of hone in on that and bring knowledge to people, you know, about decentralization and technology and how creatives can use technology as a form of, you know, as another tool as well.
Yeah, kind of taking the creative aspect of it out of the notebook and putting it out into the world in a larger way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think devs are the biggest poets. They know, you know, looking at the scripts and all the different language, I think they're one of there's poetry in there for sure. So big up to the devs.
I agree. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us here today. This has been fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. And yeah, until next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.